The morning after the new cyber attack, Luminatech buzzed like a restless hive. Phones rang, printers screamed, and every corridor echoed with one question. What is the rebirth protocol? Adesuwa sat in her glass-walled office. The skyline of Lagos stretched behind her like a storm she couldn't outrun. Her eyes were heavy, her shoulders stiff, her soul torn between pride and dread. On her screen, code flickered in endless loops. Ada's final whisper still breathing through the system. She rubbed her temples and whispered, "Ada, you never stop, do you?" The hum of the servers answered her like a taunt, but beneath her fatigue, anger had thinned into fear. Not fear of Ada anymore, but herself, of how her need to win might have created new ghosts. The price of righteousness, she realized, was sometimes more than sin itself. She leaned back, closed her eyes, and murmured, "Maybe peace was never about being right. Maybe it's about being free." The hospital smelled of antiseptic and quiet hope. Machines beeped softly beside Amadi's bed. His fever had broken, but his skin still glistened with sweat. Adesuwa sat beside him, brushing stray curls from his forehead, whispering prayers she hadn't said in years. Tara stood near the window, drawing on the fog glass with her finger. "He looks like Daddy when he dreams," she said. Adesuwa smiled through exhaustion. "Maybe peace looks like both of them," she replied. She kissed Amadi's cheek and promised in a trembling voice, "Mommy will fix everything this time." When she stepped into the hallway, the nurse smiled gently. "He's strong," the woman said. Adesuwa nodded. "He gets that from his father," she murmured. Later that evening, the phone vibrated in her pocket. It was Afani. His tone was calm, almost too calm. "The system is stable," he said. "But that new file, it keeps rewriting itself." Adesuwa gripped the phone tighter. "What does that mean?" He hesitated, and she could almost hear him breathe. "It means someone still has control." Neither spoke for several seconds. The silence wasn't empty. It was full of all the words they hadn't said since everything broke. Then softly he added, "Be careful, Adesuwa. Sometimes the system learns from its maker." The call ended, leaving her listening to the steady beep of Amadi's monitor. Each sound reminded her that some battles demanded surrender, not strength. That night, Rain returned to Lagos like a confession. As Adesuwa reviewed server logs, her intercom crackled. "Madam, someone is here asking to see you," the security guard said. "Who?" "She says her name is Ada Namani." Adesuwa froze. The name felt like thunder after lightning. She walked to the gate slowly, every step echoing on the wet pavement. There, under the rain, stood Ada, no makeup, no jewelry, just a soaked shawl clinging to her shoulders. In her hand was a small flash drive. Her eyes looked smaller, human, and tired. "I didn't come to fight," Ada said quietly. "I came to end what I started." The wind lifted the edge of her scarf, and for the first time, Adesuwa saw not a rival, but a ruin. She opened the gate and whispered, "Then come in before the rain drowns us both." They sat across from each other in the office where their war had begun. Between them lay the flash drive, tiny, silent, dangerous. Ada's fingers trembled as she set it down. "It's the last part of the virus," she said. "I wrote it years ago. It feeds on old code, mine and yours." Adesuwa frowned. "Mine?" Ada nodded. "When you built the security firewalls, I copied your framework. You became part of it without knowing. Why bring it now?" Ada's lips quivered. "Because I'm tired of watching the world burn just to stay warm." The air smelled of rain and truth. For a long time, Adesuwa said nothing. Her mind replayed every betrayal, every sleepless night, every scar Ada's name had carved into her life. Mercy was supposed to be holy, but right now it felt like madness. Finally, she spoke. "We'll fix it. Together." She called Afani. When he entered, the room thickened with memories. He looked at Ada, once his ally, now a ghost. Ada lowered her gaze. "I never meant for it to reach your family." He nodded once. "But it did." Adesuwa inhaled. "Then we ended together." They began at sunset. Screens glowed, fingers moved, hearts raced. 3 people who had broken each other now shared one keyboard. Ada provided the deactivation keys. Ifani coded lines faster than he breathed. Adesuwa double-checked every parameter, afraid to blink. Time blurred. The hum of machines became a hymn. Midnight passed unnoticed. At 3 a.m., the servers blinked green. The virus collapsed on itself like a dying star. No applause, no speeches, just quiet breaths of relief. Ada wiped her tears with trembling hands. "So that's what peace sounds like," she said. Adesuwa replied softly, "It's been a long time coming." Before leaving, Ada handed her a small envelope. "Letters," she said. "One for everyone I hurt. I'll confess publicly tomorrow. I don't want to run anymore." Adesuwa looked into her eyes. "Then maybe you've already started healing." Ada smiled faintly. "Healing," she repeated, tasting the word like medicine. "It hurts less than pride." The next morning, television screens across Lagos lit up with Ada's face. She stood before a sea of microphones, no jewelry, no pretense. Her voice shook, but her words were steady. "I was wrong," she said. "I lied, I stole, and I hurt people who trusted me. Today I accept the weight of my actions. I thank Luminatech for showing me that truth doesn't destroy, it rebuilds." Reporters gasped. Hashtags exploded. Somewhere on her balcony, Adesuwa whispered, "Finally, she told the truth." Weeks drifted by. The storm headlines faded. Ada disappeared quietly into crowd, reappearing months later in a small village where no one knew her name. There, she taught young girls how to code and, more importantly, how to be honest. When people asked Adesuwa if she ever saw her again, she would smile faintly and say, "Some goodbyes need to stay quiet to work." One warm evening, the sound of Tara's laughter filled the house again. The doorbell rang. Tara raced to open it. "Mom, Daddy's here," she shouted. Ifani stood there, nervous but smiling, holding a small box in his hand. Adesuwa froze, then slowly smiled back. "Come in," she said softly. They didn't need long speeches. Their eyes said everything. The regret, the forgiveness, the love that refused to die. They sat on the balcony, the same place where silence once divided them. The night smelled of rain and mango leaves. "I thought revenge would fix me," he said quietly. "It broke me instead." Adesuwa nodded. "And I thought control would protect me. It only built walls." They looked at each other and laughed, softly, tenderly, not the laughter of victory, but of understanding. Forgiveness had begun, not perfect, but real. Later that night, he handed her the small box. "Open it." Inside was a plaque engraved with one word, grace. "For the woman who remembered truth when everyone else forgot it," he said, her eyes filled with tears. "And for the man who still believes in light," she whispered. He reached across the table and took her hand. For once, words weren't needed. A month later, under the mango tree in their backyard, they stood again. No cameras, no applause, just the rustle of leaves and the smell of fresh rain. Tara and Amadi held little flowers they'd picked from the garden. Adesuwa looked at Ifani and said, "We lost so much, but maybe losing was how we learned to love honestly." He smiled, sliding a simple ring on her finger. "Then let's promise to protect peace this time." They exchanged vows in whispers. The world didn't need to hear them. Only the wind did, and it carried their words far beyond the yard. That night, laughter filled the house once more. Tara told stories. Amadi clapped, and the rain tapped softly against the windows. On a shelf nearby sat the old flash drive, sealed in glass, a reminder that even broken things can become lessons. Adesuwa leaned against Ifani's shoulder. "Some stories end where others restart, at forgiveness," she said. He held her hand and replied, "And love that survives the storm is the strongest kind of truth." The lights glowed warm. Outside, the rain sang softly.
Peace had finally returned. The storm was over, the wounds had healed, and love breathed again. Adesuwa no longer fought the world. She understood it. Ifani no longer ran from his mistakes. He learned from them. Together, they stood where everything began, not perfect but whole. Yet as midnight crept across the city, one light in Luminateca's server room flickered once. A silent notification appeared, then vanished. File restored. Rebirth protocol/user unknown. The city slept, unaware that every ending hides another beginning. Because some stories never truly end, they simply wait for the next sunrise to tell their next truth. Thank you for watching Tales of Love and Revenge. Like, share, and subscribe, because every love, every secret, and every second chance always comes with a new chapter.